I don't see the, okay, there's a camera. Okay, welcome everyone to our Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District Board Meeting. And our first item is to call it to order and a pledge of allegiance. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the first item next is a public comment. If there's anyone here wishes to speak to the board on an item that's not on our agenda, please come to the podium and have your stay. I think everybody's here for a special item, so that'll be next probably, or coming up. Okay, so next we have two public hearings. One is on the 2024 budget and then the levy. There'll be two resolutions here, so I need a motion to open up the public hearing. So moved. Motion by Manager Burnett.
Second.
Second by Manager Boyles. All in favor of opening up the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Oh, motion carries. So we're opening up and we'll turn it over to Administrator Gacy for a report.
President Loney and managers. In September, the board approved a preliminary budget and levy. Subsequent to September, staff has continued to refine our budget and our levy, and we continue to find ways to reduce our proposed levy and budget. The levy and the budget that you are, the levy that's in front of you tonight reflects a 1.5% increase from 2023. And this results in a tax rate of 2.8%, which is equivalent to what was levied last year in 2023. The focus of the budget is consistent with our water resource management plan, focusing on the activities of water quality improvement, flood reduction, and managing existing and preventing new aquatic invasive species. Unique items included with the budget relate to funding improvements to the district's aging ferric chloride facility and also updating the district's comprehensive wetland plan. Over 20% of the budget is funded by the district's reserve funds. And with that, and then 87% of the budget is directed towards implementing, once again, our projects and programs. Staff is recommending the adoption of Resolution 23-372, adopting the 2024 budget in the amount of $2,521,500. Staff also recommends adoption of Resolution 23-373, certifying the final 2024 levy in the amount of $1,949,000.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone who wishes to speak, please come forward and speak on behalf on the budget or the levy. I'm not seeing anybody coming forward, so I look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion made by Manager Boyles.
Second.
Second by Manager Tofinelli. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 4-0. Okay, so now we have to pass a couple of resolutions. And the first one is Resolution 23-372 for the 2024 budget, adopting the budget. Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion by Manager Boyles, second by Manager Burnett. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Not hearing or seeing any? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, 4-0. Now we need to pass Resolution 23-373, which is certifying the final 2024 administrative and metropolitan water management tax levy. Anybody want to make a motion?
This is the one that really matters.
This is the
So
one.
moved.
This is the big one. Motion by Manager Boyles.
Second.
Second by Manager Burnett. And any further discussions? I would just like to make one point, just to let everybody know, we did start out several meetings ago, and we started at 6%, down to 3%, down to 1.5%. So we really worked hard to keep our budget as minimal increase as possible. So I appreciate the work of the board members and staff in doing that. So, any more further discussion, comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, so now we have to have another public hearing. This is on our Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, the SWIP, the annual public hearing. So does somebody want to make a motion to open that hearing? Motion by Manager Tofinelli.
Second.
Second by Manager Burnett. And now we're going to have a public hearing on the SWIP. And Administrator Geesey, you want to take this?
Yep, President Loney and managers. Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District is a municipal separate storm sewer system. That's also called an MS4 permittee. That permit is issued by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. All MS4 permittees are required to develop and implement a stormwater pollution prevention plan, also known as a SWIP, to reduce the discharge of pollutants from the storm sewer system to the maximum extent possible. The SWIP must cover 6 minimum control measures as follows: public education and outreach, public participation and involvement, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site runoff and control, post-construction stormwater management, and pollution prevention and good housekeeping. A copy of the district SWIP was included in the board packet for public review. The MPCA requires, once again, that all MS4 permittees must annually invite members of the public to review and provide comments on this SWIP. The district has chose to meet this requirement by holding this public hearing this evening. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Prior Lake American newspaper on both December 2nd and the 9th.
Thank you. And the reason we have to have a SWIP, or this pollution prevention plan, is because of our outlet pipe. Is that the main reason?
That is correct. We are an MS4 permittee because of our Prior Lake outlet pipe.
That's correct. Okay. So with that, any questions from the managers on the SWIP? Manager Boyle.
I do have a question. I note it's a October 2021 document, right? And its life actually terminates on November 15, 2025. Is that accurate? That's what I believe from the report. But we use the 2021 document each year to conduct this public hearing.
That is correct, Manager Boyles. The SWIP was developed and submitted with our application to be permitted under the MPCA. And this SWIP will continue to direct our activities for the period that we are covered by our MS4 permit from the MPCA.
I'm guessing there are not a lot of amendments. I mean, if it's got a 5-year life and we have these public hearings annually, what effectuates a change in the document?
It would really be whether we would like to make some revisions to our stormwater pollution and prevention plan.
Based upon input we receive at these public hearings. Thank you.
So one follow-up question. So the form doesn't change the questions, or that could change from the MPCA or the EPA?
Yeah, if the district wanted to update it, I think we could, and we'd probably have to then review that, run that by the MPCA again. But for the document that is attached will suffice for the life of our permit.
Okay, very good. All right, so this is a public hearing. Again, is there anyone from the public who wishes to make a comment on our MS4 SWIP? I don't see anybody. I think they're all here for something else. I don't know. Okay, so with that, a motion to close the public hearing. Motion by Manager Burnett.
Second.
Second by Manager Tofinelli. So all in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So now, there is no motion required. So we're done with that item. Okay. Well, our next item is, I think what everybody is here for, is the acknowledgement of Woody Spitzmiller's service to the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District. And Manager Gacy, would you want to say something?
Do we need to approve the agenda, President?
Oh, I got to go back to that. There it is.
I keep delaying.
At the bottom of the page. Okay, so we need to approve the agenda. Is there any changes from staff? None?
So moved.
Just a second here. I think we do have to have a change.
Yeah.
Joni, your administrative report.
Oh, yes.
We need to add that to
4.6.
4.6, okay?
So moved with that amendment.
Motion by Manager Boyles to
Second.
the amendment, second by Manager Tofinelli for the approval of the agenda with that one change. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So we have an approved agenda. So now we can talk about our acknowledgement. We have a proclamation here for Woody Spitzmiller and his service to the Watershed District. Administrative Geese, you want to give us a reading of that proclamation?
I'd be happy to. So once again, Mr. Spitzmuller has been will be leaving the CAC here in December. And we would just like to acknowledge Mr. Spitzmuller's service to this community, to the Watershed District, through this proclamation, which I will read. So the proclamation is as follows. Where it is the intention of the Board of Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District to recognize noteworthy individuals and their service to the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District. And whereas Woody Spitzmuller was appointed by Scott County to serve on the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District Board of Managers for 2 3-year terms from May 21st, 2013 to March 2nd, 2019, where he served 1 year as the board secretary and 5 years as the board treasurer. And whereas Woody Spitzmuller, throughout his tenure on the Board of Managers, faithfully advanced the mission of the Watershed District to manage and preserve the water resources of the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District to the best of his ability, using input from the community, sound engineering practices, and efficient funding of beneficial projects which transcended political jurisdiction. And whereas Woody Spitzmuller was appointed by the Prior Lake Spring Lake District to serve on the district's Citizens Advisory Committee from April 2019 to December 2023, where he researched, studied, and advised the district board on issues related to lakes and other water resources within the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District. Now therefore be it resolved that the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District Board of Managers and staff expresses sincere appreciation and gratitude to Woody Spitzmuller for over 10 years of dedicated service to the Watershed District by serving on the district's Board of Managers and Citizens Advisory Committee.
Thank you. As a board, we need to make a motion to adopt that proclamation acknowledging Woody Spitzmiller's service to the Watershed District. Is there a motion?
Can we all move it?
We can all move it, I think. I don't know.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved. We don't need a second then? Or maybe we can all, we'll all, I guess I was second and he was third. Okay. Anyway, all in favor of the proclamation motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Well, no opposed on that one. Thank you, Woody, for your service to the Watershed District. I know you might want to say a few words, but I want to just thank you not only for your service to us, but to the community, to the Lake Association, to everything you've done. I know I always called you the volunteer's volunteer. You're the guy that volunteers for everything. So, anybody else want to say anything about Woody? Go ahead. You're on, Frank.
Is it?
Yep. Okay.
You know, Woody, all of us get to choose what we will put into our lives and the legacy we will leave. and you've left one heck of a wonderful legacy for this community and the surrounding area. Thank you so much. We're losing such a great resource. On the other hand, we've had so many years of your outstanding service. Thank you so much.
You want to say anything, Woody? Do you? Oh, well, we're good. We're going to do a photo op.
I would suggest that we allow Mr. Spitzmuller to make his comments, and then we'll hand out
Yeah.
the plaque and have a photo opportunity.
Yep.
Now it's live. Well, I'm honored and I'm humbled by the recognition. I respect all of you guys. I've worked with all you guys over the years. I mean, I'm all in on this watershed board. I mean, I think that you do great work over the years. I mean, it's important to protect our resources, the environment. I think the board does a wonderful job, and I'm honored to have been a part of it. I feel my role as treasurer, I think, was interesting. We pushed some pretty big levy increases. I was interested. I mean, it's nice that you guys are minimizing that increase this year. But at the time I came on the board, there was a lot of people, and we weren't getting anything done. So there was money needed to get things done, and we had some relatively significant levy increases during those years. I guess some of you guys remember some of that stuff. But so again, I appreciate the recognition. It's really an honor. I've enjoyed working with the staff here, guided us through a lot of stuff on the CAC. So appreciate that. And I don't know, we are moving. I guess most of you may know that, but my wife and I are moving down to Iowa to be closer to family. Our daughter and granddaughter live in Ankeny, so we have set up we're actually in a senior community there in Ankeny, which is a really bustling town, and we're looking forward to that, to get away. I'm really, really pleased to also mention that Michelle Toffanelli, Matt's wife, is taking over my job. So I was really, really grateful, and I think the board finances will be in very good hands. I think Michelle has an accounting background, and she's going to do a wonderful job. So I'm really pleased about that. So that's about all I've got. I guess if we're going to do a photo op or something next.
Back at my, okay, we're back to our agenda. And we're going to go to programs and projects now. Update. Yeah. That one's not working, no. Or maybe.
All right, programs and projects update for December 12th. Start with lake level graphing. Our Prior Lake is at 898.88. It's, approaching that level. It's still declining, not quite as low as last year. Spring Lake has been fairly steady, 909.57. I have reached out earlier this year and have communicated with our group of lake ice observation volunteers. Our volunteers are watching for 90% lake ice coverage. My update from last month kind of showed we were expecting ice coverage around December 7th on Upper Prior Lake. As of today, all our large water bodies are still iced over. Some of our smaller ones our large water bodies are open, and our smaller ones, some of them still retain some ice. So it's looking like it could be a late year. Hopefully that's not record-breaking. More from our from our monitoring and research department, we have transitioned into our data management phase. We're working within our whiskey database to analyze and import our data sets. This whiskey database is a very advanced database and has lots and lots of resources, and we're able to conduct and perform really quite powerful calculations very easily. The issue is just there's so much to learn in there that's what's holding us back right now. So lots to learn, lots of new features. But we are working hard to use that to the best of our abilities. As of today, we really dove into and received a lot of our lake water quality results. So we'll start with Lower Prior Lake, and I'll explain this graph in a little more detail, and then I'll go through our other lakes that have very similar graphs. So starting at the top, the blue lines are our Secchi measurements. This is essentially the clarity of the water. The axis on the right shows the depth in meters, and the dotted blue line is the state water quality standard. So there are different water quality standards for deep and shallow lakes, and that's identified at the bottom. So deep lakes, the Secchi disk measurement is 1.4 meters, and Lower Prior Lake has been meeting this water quality standard throughout the length of our monitoring. If you look at the phosphorus in red and orange, we're well below the standard, and for orange and for the total phosphorus and chlorophyll, we're looking for that the graphs to be beneath those two dotted lines. A Lower Prior Lake has been sort of the very consistent, good water quality lake over the last almost 20 years, and we're expecting to keep that, and the goal of the watershed is to maintain that water quality. So jumping over to Upper Prior Lake, there was a significant improvement in water quality since 2020 with the alum treatment. We are currently meeting the 3 state water quality standards. Something, I guess, to note would be that total phosphorus is beginning to climb. And these measurements are an average of June through September values, which is what the state standards are based on. For Spring Lake, we're meeting all 3 standards. Again, since the last alum treatment in 2020, there is sort of a steady climb in total phosphorus. But if you look at this year, very low chlorophyll A and very good Secchi depth measurements. And being out and working out on the lakes, I can attest to that. The water quality on Spring Lake has been terrific. Hopefully the residents can tell us that too and give us their thoughts. On Fish Lake, in 2023, the lake was meeting all 3 standards, and this hasn't occurred since 2011. So Fish Lake has a history of sort of kind of bouncing around up and down, over and under the water quality standards. Emily has been working on the Fish Lake management plan. We'll have to pass this information over to her. So we got Pike West and Pike East on the aerial image on the left. You'll see a blue line running through Pike West. This is where the Prior Lake Outlet Channel would typically flow through Pike Lake. Pike West has always received the benefit of the outlet channel, which is primarily lower Prior Lake water, and has resulted in much better water quality, whereas Pike East has not benefited from that flow through and had received primarily agricultural runoff. So over the last 3 years during this drought period that we've been in, you can see on Pike East and Pike West how water quality has declined. So on Pike West, we're not meeting phosphorus or Secchi, and in Pike East, we are not meeting total phosphorus or Secchi either. Next month, I'll be able to report back on report cards, and then I'll provide a similar alum update with regards to coring analysis and what some of these water quality values might indicate for future management action. And that's it from there we go.
Okay. Always start with this slide to just show the gauntlet of a list of projects we've got going on. I'm only going to highlight one today in this section because the length of the board packet reflects how much work I've been doing on other ones that will be in different sections of today's agenda. So I won't labor you further on those. So today I'll just highlight, will it advance? Click for me. Okay, it's thinking about it. There we go. So the project that I wanted to give you some information on is the Buck Stream restoration. It's a stream coming from Buck Wetland, flowing into Buck Lake. It's highly erosive, pretty active channel, can get heavy flows in times of rain. You can see the picture on the bottom left, shows just some cut banks there. It's cut down deep enough that it's not connected to the floodplain at all anymore. I walked the channel with SWCD this last month, and as well as EOR's stream restoration expert, to figure out what kind of project could be done there because of the magnitude and length of eroding stream. This stream reach was identified in the upper watershed blueprint. That's where the picture on the right comes from. It is not super cost effective when you compare it to our other projects. However, it is eligible for a Clean Water Fund match that SWCD currently has, and I do think it would be competitive for other grant funding, as well as having landowners that have been willing to collaborate so far. So there's no design for this project yet. It's been very preliminary, just seeing what could happen there. Our next step would be to estimate the level of effort, how much money would it actually take, because it could be very large, or we could go for a more natural approach, which is probably budget-conscious decision for this approach. But I just wanted to let you know that this is coming down. There will probably be an update on what that project could look like. And here's just another picture of how tall those banks get. You can see on the bottom of this picture, the landowner at the far downstream end of the reach we were looking at has armored with rock himself because of the erosion there. So I think a very promising project for other benefits as well as phosphorus reduction. The sedimentation that this stream is providing is very significant. If you look at the site, it pretty much is very easy to see how it would be like buckets of soil just running downstream anytime there's flow. So it would be a great source to shut off, and we'll see. I will report back on cost benefit as we get more information. I think that's the end of the projects and programs section for me. It's going to take a second to think to advance. That's it for projects and programs. Yeah. Just click, yeah. All right. Click next. Thank you. There we go.
Moving on to item 4.3, which is a swamp lake phosphorus and peak flow reduction feasibility study.
Okay, the computers are slow to think today, but you should see on your screens. There we go. Now I see it. The swamp iron enhanced sand filter, which is the phosphorus reduction best management practice that was proposed in this feasibility study. There were 3 alternates written about in the feasibility study, as well as wetland delineation and underlying a study to inform those. Swamp Lake is at the very headwaters of the upper watershed, would provide benefit. Downstream in the County Ditch 13 subwatershed to Spring Lake, which would be contributing to the TMDL goals there. This feasibility study was had grant funding support through Bowser's WBIF program. The 3 alternatives ranged in benefit from 83 to 89 pounds of phosphorus removed annually. And that's an update from the last draft that was presented. And the reasoning behind that is just the methodology used to calculate effectiveness. The prior version was using MPCA's credit that they will assign to iron enhanced sand filter, which is 41%. That credit is based on kind of a statewide average of lots of different iron enhanced sand filters, many of which are designed poorer and don't have the advantage of this site, which has pre-treatment in the settling of the lake itself and then of the bioretention area, as well as just being intentionally designed iron enhanced sand filter. So therefore we updated those assumptions to be comparative with the design of this iron enhanced sand filter, and that's why the numbers of phosphorus removed have been improved, because we anticipate that this site will provide that. This also makes the phosphorus removal estimates more comparable to other studies which have used the same approach. They've estimated how much that specific site can remove. So that is helpful as the district makes decisions on which projects to move forward with. Just wanted to give I've heard feedback that the concept of how the water is moving was a little abstract from the drawings, so because it's technical. So just wanted to illustrate this for you. Oh, lost some dots here, but this yellow area on the map would be the potential iron enhanced sand filter location. Water flows out of Swamp Lake under Red Wing Trail. It would hit a berm and be directed into the iron enhanced sand filter, which it would go through, be treated, the water would be treated, and when it left the filter and went back into the ditch, it would be of greater quality. So there would be some bypass at different flows depending on the alternative options, but that's the general concept, just to see the way the water's flowing. And then this is a summary of the alternatives proposed. The preferred alternative or recommended alternative was option number 3, primarily because it provides the lowest bypass, so the most water will be treated. Only 7% of water is going to flow past that site during high flows. And it isn't subject to the CLOMAR-LOMAR permitting, which would be applicable if there was lake level rise on Swamp Lake. That permitting process is laborious and not guaranteed that we would get approval. So that is why option 3 was the recommended alternative. And that would provide 89.1 pounds of removal per year. So that is the summary. I'd be happy to take any questions. And we also have Josh Akola here, who's the project manager on this project from Stantec.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Any questions on the study from the board members? Manager Boyles.
I'm looking at page 13 of 12, really? Okay, it says page 13 of 12, in any case. It's next steps
Okay.
for this, and it says board approves this feasibility study. Then the next step is to send it to BWSR, then pursue landowner agreement. And I remember some of our conversations in here. Is that the right order, given landowner issues that can sometime be present?
I don't have the exact language in front of me, but we have been in contact with the landowner through the whole process. So they've been part of the design, and I've met with them routinely. I also have sent this draft feasibility study to everyone on our technical advisory committee. So that includes Bowser, DNR supported the plan, Scott County, Ditch Authority. So, yep.
Great.
We've been in touch.
Terrific, thank you.
I have a question in regards to grant funding.
Yes, Manager.
What are the chances of this project and what grant funding would be available?
So the two that are, I think, the most prevalently used for projects like this would be the WBIF non-competitive, which, as mentioned in the board workshop, there's an amount of money assigned to our area, and us with convening partners have to choose which projects to use that money on. So this project could be eligible for that. There's also the competitive grant through WBIF, which we would submit an application and have to compete against others. Based on Bowser's feedback before, a project like this would be very competitive in that process. So I think the likelihood is good that we would receive grant funding.
And finding out about those competitive grants would be later this year, or is there a timeline?
I'll have to check if they're biannually or annually.
Okay.
I know that one happened last July, or this July, so.
Okay. And my last question I have is, I noticed we're doing a 30-year lifespan of this iron enhancement, where typically in other feasibility studies, we've done 15 years. So if we were to use a 15-year lifespan, the cost effectiveness would be doubled, then I assume.
So in the comparison tool that we talked about, all of them were set to 15-year lifespans. Feasibility studies over the course of the district have been all over the place on lifespans, some 15, 20, 30, but it does impact depending on how far you look out.
I think the last feasibility studies I've seen was the 15-year was kind of a standard.
Yep.
Something has to be done to the iron enhanced filter in 15 years. Any other questions from Matt? You okay? All right, thank you, and
So to finish that presentation, staff would recommend making a motion to approve the Swamp Lake iron or phosphorus reduction flow.
yes, yes, and then all we're doing is approving the study for tonight.
Correct.
Okay, there's our motion to approve the study.
So moved.
So moved by Manager Boyles,
Second.
second by Manager Tofinelli. Any other further discussions on the feasibility study? Not hearing any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carried 4-0. Thank you. We got, that is done, and I think the next one is the Fish Lake Management Plan update.
Yes,
Emily, do you have that one too?
I do. You're going to hear from me for a little bit. Yes, so the Fish Lake Management Plan update, as you can tell by the length of the board packet, the process was very thorough. This slide just shows a schedule of the public meetings. We received input from landowners, residents at these meetings, as well as afterwards. We also received feedback from technical advisory committee members on this plan from the DNR support. We received some minor comments from Met Council, and no other technical advisory committee members had comments. Just a very thorough process, so I wanted to underline that. It also had a lot of underlying data to inform the lake management plan. So not just a model that's guessing, there's a lot of real-time data that's here. It does get plugged into the model. And then this is just an example from one year that was chosen to be maybe a semi-typical representative year. Would show the different sources of loading. So the orange is showing percentage of phosphorus loading that's coming from internal sources, so the bottom of the lake sediment. And then green, the next largest, is from external or watershed loading, runoff from the land. So you can see that both of those are a significant portion. Depending on how wet or dry a year is, those will shift. But those are always the dominant portions. Even in very wet years, the internal load is, I think the lowest it got was 35%. So it's always been a large portion. This is just some other representation of the data that kind of informs how we would implement actions here. On the graph on the left, it's showing the phosphorus levels at the lake bottom. The dashed line is our state standard, and then these blue dots are data points. So you can see the majority of them are over, meaning our lake bottom concentrations are way higher than the state standards would require. And you can see on the axis, the scale here, it goes up to 1,200 as our highest point. The graph on the left is showing data points for surface water. Again, the black slashed line is our state standard, so you can see much closer. We're meeting that standard a lot more often at the surface water, although we are above it sometimes. But even when we are above it, the highest one is around 160. So if you compare those numbers, you can see that although we may not meet the state standard in both of these locations, the phosphorus levels in the lake bottom are comparatively much larger. And you can see this reflected here in average phosphorus concentrations. The lake has the highest overall phosphorus levels on the shoulder seasons of April, October. That's unlikely. Normally, lakes will have higher phosphorus levels in the summer when it's hot. There's lots of nutrients running off of fertilized lawns. So this is kind of demonstrating that really phosphorus-rich bottom, when the lake turns over in spring and fall, it's bringing it up to the top. It becomes available for algae, and so that's when we get those higher phosphorus concentrations. And you can see our summer months are closer to meeting standards. So 40 micrograms a liter is our state standard. We're close or meeting on average in the summer. So again, just pointing out that the internal load, that lake bottom, is really resulting in the spring and fall blooms and turnover. All that phosphorus becomes available because of anoxic conditions being released into the water column. And so now what do we do with this information? The plan recommends that we need to do both internal and external loading management tools. It sets goals. This table in the middle of the slide shows how much they recommend reducing our loads. So internal load is recommended reduction of 659 pounds, whereas watershed is 103. So progress to be made in both. And you can see the different tools in each of these. I won't go through them on this slide because we've got slides on each of those. These are the recommended internal load management tools. Sediment inactivation, or an alum, is a common chemical used there. Treatment would be the recommendation for internal load, and that, as you can see from this table, is based on the feasibility that we know of currently. Cost, it's a much lower cost than others. Other practices, such as aeration, wouldn't actually address the phosphorus or removing it. It would just temporarily abate it while it's being used. Carp population or fisheries management was deemed not to be high enough that it would be a good load reduction strategy. And then vegetation harvesting, the challenge there with Fish Lake is just where vegetation is located is a very narrow location compared with where the internal load is, as well as the areas that the district is permitted to harvest from. So this is the internal load. Recommendation would be to conduct a sediment inactivation treatment. That, if we did that, it would meet our internal load recommendation. That would really be focused on reducing those spring and fall blooms, because other times of year, it's contained to the bottom of the lake, so it's not introducing active problems for recreation necessarily. That could change with climate or storm patterns or other influences to lake, but historically that's when we've seen it, spring and fall, pop up. External or watershed load management is much more diverse in location and types of practices that could be used. Things like agricultural conservation or lakeshore improvements in our existing cost share farmer-led council programs could be or can be continued to use, as well as there's some specific project areas here that could be looked at, such as looking at stormwater systems that may be outdated, an iron-enhanced sand filter, wetland restoration, and wetland banking. So you can see there's lots of different projects proposed here. We're ordered in order of priority by the consultants, and if we were to accomplish all of them, we would get an estimated of 128 pounds reduction. The goal would be to reduce 103. So this also does not account for existing cost share practices or farmer-led council practices that we should account for later. So then the next steps with this plan would be that the draft has been submitted to the board. There's $100,000 included in the 2024 budget, which, separate from this approval, you would, as board members, be able to approve which projects may be used to using that fund. Separate from that $100,000, we have ongoing programs that can contribute to progress in this area, like cost share, farmer-led council, carp management, vegetation surveys, curly leaf pondweed management. Those are ongoing, separate from this process, and will continue. So in summary, staff recommends making a motion to approve the 2023 Fish Lake Management Plan. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions for staff?
I'm a bit curious on the toxicity issues with alum, and I'd like to understand a little bit more on the application of what our knowledge base is on mitigating any of those risks.
Yep, so I am not a water chemist or chemical expert, but that is our consultant's job. And so I've asked them to be as comprehensive as possible in that section of the report. A lot of it was informed by direct resident concerns. From what I've learned and from reading the report, alum is applied with a buffer, which takes care of the toxicity. There's well-documented monitoring that can be done to make sure that there's no problems occurring, and then also follow-up steps that are clear if there are any problems that are noted. I know that the report cites a position paper by North American Lake Management Society that supports alum treatments since 2004 and has some underlying data to that. So as an accepted practice in the metro and statewide for the internal load management, there's lots of documentation that we can use to help inform our application. I'm not the expert, but if there's things that are missing, then as a district, we can look further and make sure we document that.
To follow on to your comment, whose responsibility is it to monitor that, the toxicity issues, or to remedy anything that comes up? Who owns that?
I believe that would be the district, and there is, in the implementation plan, there's money for monitoring after the,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Any other questions from board members on this report? I have one. So since, if we approve this report, would this qualify for some grants, possibly for alum treatment or other projects as listed?
Yes, the big impetus for updating this plan is that we were not very competitive in grant funding when we have two planning documents that are conflicting each other. So finalizing this document allows us to be competitive for any of the projects on this
Yep.
plan.
I would think this looks like a good project for some grant funding. But that's just me. That might be a bias. Okay, well, with that, I don't have any other questions, and I've seen any other, so looking for a motion to approve the 2023 Fish Lake Management Plan.
So moved.
Moved by Manager Burnett,
Second.
second by Manager Tofinelli. All not in favor yet. Any discussion, any further discussion on the motion? Okay, I assume you guys are ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And that's lengthy report is approved. And we'll see more of that projects, I guess, in 2024. Now that we approved the budget, approved the plan, now we got some projects maybe coming forward. Okay, next item is the ferric chloride facility electronic equipment replacement update. And Emily, you're up again?
I am.
You need a breather?
Yep. So I just wanted to provide an update because we have two kind of processes going on simultaneously. The district manages the operations and maintenance ongoing at our ferric chloride site, which includes regular rate replacement and maintenance of system operation. That's included in our annual budget every year. At the same time, this year we have a system assessment going on, which looked at the condition of our current equipment and then made some recommendations on just replacement when it fails, or if there are recommendations for optimization. And in that process, There were some board questions on sensor technology, and like what is the appropriate level of accuracy and investment cost-wise for the district to make. And so even though normally replacement of equipment that's failed at our ferric chloride site is regularly routine, we wanted to update you on a failed piece of equipment and our recommendation to replace it based on the system assessment recommendations. So the piece of equipment in question are the sensors. There are 2 sensors in the system. There's one at the weir and one in the tank. They tell us the flow and the level of chemical in the tank. And then there's a data logger that's also part of that system. And these things essentially allow us to rate our dosing based on how much water is going through the system. It also allows us to verify our dosing, manage our chemical supply, and then we use it in reporting. So pretty essential part of our system we want to make sure that we maintain. Our current system is using ultrasonic sensors. The sensor and data logger has failed, and we would need to replace them to maintain our current precision of operation. It would be much diminished without these. Our recommendation as staff, based on operation and from the system assessment, would be to replace the ultrasonic sensors with radar sensors. They're equivalent price and accuracy to the current equipment. They're longer lasting because they're mounted outside of the chemical, and this choice would not limit our decision makings in any of the other elements of the system assessment. The original draft of the assessment that the board received, which queued some questions, had a much higher estimate for radar sensors, which was just based on some different sources were much higher, as well as any consultant will add contingency and legal and things like that, which when we as a district manage our system, we are just purchasing and installing, so the cost is much slimmer. So when we looked at the realities, the replacement was really more of a direct comparison of what we have now, just an improvement of longevity because of removing it from the corrosive material. As well as when we looked at using less accurate options, they were not much cheaper. They would reduce our operation accuracy and performance. And because they are kind of short cuts, we would have to do some further feasibilities to see if they would even be usable, like does our tank get cloudy enough that we can see through it, or maybe require multiple. So we felt it was a very clear choice to replace with radar sensors so we could maintain that operation. So with that, we would like to make the recommendation to make a motion to approve the replacement of the failed weir and tank level sensors with 2 radar sensors, as well as replace the failed data logger along with necessary cables and digital display at a cost not to exceed $11,900.
Anybody want to make that motion? Manager Boyles,
I'll make the motion,
okay?
but I have a question.
Okay, anybody want a second? Seconded by Manager Torfinelli. Okay, we can have the questions.
I remember in the inventory of equipment replacement, there were a couple of things that had 2-year productive life spans. Are they in here?
They are not.
They're not.
Yep.
I don't know if that's good or bad. honestly. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do they have a longevity? I mean, how long do the other ones last?
10 years.
10 years,
Source of-
guaranteed?
Phone a friend. Yep, both would. Yep. Actually, this is longer than what we currently have.
Okay.
Yep.
I just had one question. I noticed the remaining amount of money in the budget is the same as the cost not to exceed. Is that a coincidence, or is that just?
Intentional.
Okay, so you're going to stay within that 11,900?
Yes.
Okay,
We anticipate being below, but yeah.
See if you're reading.
all right. Anybody else? You guys are ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 4-0. Now we're up to Administrator Gacy's administrative report for us.
Oh, yes, 4-6.
We forgot that one over there.
All right, President Loney and managers. I just wanted to bring to your attention that last month, we did have a resident who provided a comment expressing some concerns about vegetation and possible water quality issues in Haas Lake. So in the meantime, staff is still in the process of compiling what available water quality data that we have, and also looking into what our water resource management plan provides us in terms of direction of how to, what sort of level of effort we should be putting towards Haas Lake, which is a Tier 3 lake. So all we're doing is compiling this information, and we will then be bringing it forward to you to help make an informed decision on whether the managers want to pursue any additional investigations or as it's relating to Haas Lake. So just wanted to make sure that you are aware that we are following up on that issue. Also, just wanted to let you know that you will be receiving an email shortly from me trying to find a date for our annual board retreat. That retreat typically happens in January on a Saturday morning. So just a heads up that that inquiry will be coming here shortly. Also wanted to share with you that district staff attended the Minnesota Watersheds Conference a couple of weeks ago. And I think staff found it to be very beneficial. There were a number of technical sessions that related and gave us some insight in terms of what other watershed districts around the state are doing as they try to implement water quality projects in rural and agricultural landscapes, which I think we found very helpful. Also providing some additional insight in terms of what is the interaction between stormwater or water quality BMPs and farm operations. Also looking at, we found some interesting information relating to the interrelations between healthy plant communities, which also impact soil health, which then impact water quality. Once again, some interesting research and work in that area that we found interesting. Also, we attended some sessions looking at channel stabilization check techniques, and also some approaches on how other districts are addressing ways to protect and improve shorelines. So those are just a few of the conference topics that we as staff attended and are finding value and hope we'll be able to apply in the work that we are doing moving forward. At a later date, I will be sharing some more information with you about a legislative platform that Minnesota Watersheds was approving later in the conference. Once again, just to try to give us up to speed on where that organization is going in terms of legislative priorities. Next year, we will be members, and we will need to be reviewing legislative resolutions. We will need to have, here's advance of warning, a member or two attend the conference because the managers are the ones who will be voting on legislative priorities and resolutions for Minnesota watersheds. So just a heads up, that's coming. Other than that, finally, district staff is just sending out some thank you notes to our volunteers who have been helping us out on activities in terms of collecting data and helping us, such as ice over and other issues, water quality monitoring. So those will be being sent out here shortly. And that is my report.
Okay. Nice report. Anything from board members? Any questions? Okay. Now we're going to go to the treasury report, and Christian Morkenberg is not here, so Administrator Gacy is going to fill in for him and bring us the numbers.
Certain. President Loney and managers. So if you look at the treasurer's report, you will see that approximately half of the district's current cash balance is really covering district committed and restricted funds, leaving about approximately 50% of our district funds for operations. And that really is also, happens to be about 50% of our 2023 budget. And that is exactly where we want to be from a cash standpoint. In looking at our cash flow, our projected cash flows, you will see that the December cash flow reflects an increase in our committed and restricted funds, which, should the managers approve the commitment resolutions included in the consent package this month. So once again, trying to reflect those restricted and committed funds that the district has to be mindful of. In addition, in looking at the manager's report, there are 2 line items where the district will likely be going over budget, but overall, the expenditures for the year are expected to be below budget. For those 2 line items that we expect to be over, one relates to the services that Scott Soil and Water Conservation District is providing for the district. This is the first year we've been working with them, and the level of effort that we've needed to put in to address some ongoing outstanding permit issues and easement issues was just a little bit more than we had expected. So we are trying to do what we can to minimize any overages while still trying to advance our initiative. But likely you will see a contract amendment coming through, even though it's at the end of the year. And then the other one is that the district has also asked the district engineer for quite a bit more services this year than what we originally anticipated at the beginning of the year. Some of the things that district staff has asked for insight on are kind of those efforts to look at how we are doing the upper watershed approach, which we just talked about. Otherwise, also, the district engineer has been providing support and data to help advance the feasibility studies that we have been doing this year. And finally, once again, with our transition to Scott Soil and Water helping us out with permitting and easements, we've also had to request the district engineer to help us provide data to help get that system up and running. So once again, we will be also probably trying to put together a contract amendment to cover that as well.
Okay, very good. Did you mention that we did get the Scott County second half payment or not?
These financial statements are as of November 30th.
Yeah.
We did receive the second remittance from Scott County on December 1st.
Yeah, so that is in the bank. Okay. All right, any other questions for Joni on the treasurer's report?
Oh.
None? Okay, we're going to move on then to consent agenda. And this is considered one item of business, routine administrative items. Items not requiring discussions. Items can be removed from the consent agenda at the request of a board member, staff member, or member of the audience. Please state which items you wish to remove for separate discussion. I would like to remove 6.7 on the CARP contract. Anybody else want anything to remove? No? Okay, then I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda
So moved.
Minus 6.7.
minus 6.7.
Minus 6, yeah.
Yep. Motion by Manager Burnett,
Second.
second by Manager Tofinelli. All in favor of the consent agenda, items 6.1 to 6.6, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Since I pulled off 6.7, I was a little, I guess, when I looked at the numbers, our budget is 96,000, and WSB's number is 81,000. That struck me as kind of high. Are they basically doing all the carp catching or whatever? Do they utilize our staff for quite a bit of it?
President Loney, WSB does use our staff to aid in management. Our time, though, is not budgeted for within the program budget, though.
I guess the question I look at, when I look at the detail costs for CARP management. I mean, you got project coordination work, grant writing, does WSB do that? We got CARP disposal, I suppose they do that. Storage shed, that's ours. Barrier, wine time barrier, Arctic barrier maintenance, that, I mean, I'm just curious, when I looked at the contract and I looked at our budget, they don't seem to line up.
Yeah, so that was something that Joni actually brought forward to me this year as well. That our program direction has deviated from how our budgeting process has been written because staff has gotten much more involved over the last several years than historically. Historically, much of the budget was for consultant work. So it doesn't align as well as it used to. This year's increase in consultant costs is primarily going to that mark and recapture study.
Okay.
So overall, the budget has gone up, I believe, $2,000 since 2023.
Okay.
But as far as individual line items, the work is really similar to the current year's work, minus the mark and recapture study.
Okay. I just, struck me funny, the way the budget was presented and with this contract doesn't line up. So that's, I guess I could make a motion to approve the contract since I took it off. Motion to approve the 2024 WSB CARP Management Service Contract. Did you second it?
Second.
Second it by Manager Boyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I think we're at a upcoming meeting schedule. Vice President Boyle, would you read it for us?
It's an onerous task, but I'm up to it.
Okay?
I do have one question, though, just for the good of the order. I show, come on, I show a possible meeting for, what is it, the 14th, actually, at 4 o'clock. Was that when we were debating about
Let's see, I do not.
watershed?
That was a meeting
Oh.
that Joni was hoping to get, but then we couldn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
that failed.
That, we took care of it at the workshop.
Manager Boyles, yeah, I was not able to get that meeting scheduled, and we addressed that topic as the work session, the workshop today.
Terrific. Thanks so much. Now I'll get to the real business. We have a number of upcoming meetings and an event schedule you'll want to know about. The Farmer-Led Council meeting will take place Tuesday, December 19th at 12 noon at the Spring Lake Township Hall. The Board of Managers Workshop will be Tuesday, January 16, and this will be 2024, at 4 p.m. in the Prior Lake City Hall Parkview Conference Room here on first floor. The Board of Managers meeting for January will be the same date, Tuesday, January 16th, 6 p.m., right here in these city council chambers. And the final meeting for watershed matters in January is the Citizens Advisory Committee on Thursday, January 25th at 6 p.m., once again here in City Hall, but downstairs in the Wagon Bridge Conference Room. There you go, Mayor.
Mayor. At least you didn't call me
Mr.
miser.
President.
You didn't call me miser, that's the best thing.
Hello.
Okay, well, that's the end. Do you have something else, Manager Giesing, or Administrator Giesing?
Yeah, President Loney, I just want to, I got a little 2024 happy, so I just wanted to clarify in the agenda, the Farmer-Led Council meeting is December 19th, 2023.
Yes,
Not
Left
20.
that out.
yes,
Yeah.
it is this year.
But that's long-term planning.
Okay, well, it brings us to item 8, which is the adjournment, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Manager Burnett, second by Manager Tofranelli, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned, and we'll see you next year. How about that?
My.
Boy,
They can hardly
we
wait.
got the first Happy New Year in.
There you go, there you go.
Wow.